Hey, sit down for a second. I want to tell you about the day America decided the robot in your kitchen might be a national security problem. Picture your home a few years from now. It is late, and standing in the corner, plugged into the wall, is something shaped like a person. It folded your laundry. It carried in groceries. It has walked every room, opened every door, and learned the shape of your entire home. You paid for it. You charge it nightly. You never called it a spy. But on July 28, 2026, Washington called the machines like that an unacceptable security risk. So here's the question I want to leave with you tonight. Is that machine a helper you bought or a sensor somebody else owns? Let us start with what actually happened, because the headlines got this half right and half wrong, and the difference really matters here. On July 28th, the FCC updated something called the Covered List. Think of it as a government blacklist for communications equipment. Two new categories went on that list. Advanced robotic devices, meaning humanoids and four-legged robot dogs, and connected power inverters. Weird pairing, right? The FCC did not decide this alone. By law, it can only act when national security agencies tell it to. And they did. A White House-convened group of agencies concluded these foreign-made products pose unacceptable risks to American national security and to the safety of Americans. Their reasoning in plain English? These robots collect data that could be used to watch Americans, help foreign intelligence services, or hijack the machines remotely. Now here's where the headlines went sideways. A lot of people read this as China robots banned, effective immediately. That is not what happened. The official language says foreign produced, not Chinese. Any country. And the restriction hits new device models seeking approval, not the stuff already on shelves. Your existing robot? Fine. Retailers selling previously approved models? Fine. Federal agencies buying them? Also completely untouched. I know, that last one surprised me too. There is even an escape hatch. Manufacturers can apply for conditional approval from the Department of War, and if granted, they are back in the market. But then reporters started reading the actual definition of an advanced robotic device. And that is when this story got a lot bigger. The definition covers almost any new ground-traveling robot that weighs over 4.4 pounds, senses its surroundings, and connects wirelessly. Write that again. 4.5 pounds. A camera or a sensor, a wireless chip. That is your robot vacuum. That is your robot lawnmower. That is the delivery bot. The FCC confirmed it to The Verge directly. Yes, robot vacuums are swept in. Future ones, anyway. The headline basically wrote itself, America banned Roombas. And quietly, the FCC had to issue a waiver so existing robots can still receive security patches, at least until January 1st, 2029. A washing machine from 1998 does not need permission from a server to keep working. Your robot does. When did that become normal for us? Okay, but why now? Why robots and why this summer? For that, you need to look at the numbers, and the numbers are lopsided. China holds roughly 85% of the global humanoid robot market. Not a lead. A near monopoly on a technology everyone says will explode. In 2025, about 15,000 humanoids shipped worldwide. Two Chinese firms, Unitree and Agibot, each shipped more than 5,000 of them. Their American counterparts, Tesla and Figure AI, a few hundred each or fewer. That is not a gap. That is a different weight class entirely. And Unitree specifically had already been added to a Pentagon list of companies that says have ties to the Chinese military. Beijing denies that. Here's the awkward part. In June, NVIDIA showed a humanoid reference design built on a Unitree chassis. The supply chains are already tangled together. China responded fast. Its foreign ministry accused Washington of stretching national security to squeeze out Chinese companies and promised all measures necessary in response. And all of this lands weeks before a planned meeting between the American and Chinese presidents. Timing in geopolitics is never an accident. But step back from the politics for a minute, because I think the more interesting question is this. When did our machines start watching? Back in 2021, Consumer Reports tested robot vacuums for privacy and security. Their verdict? None were terrible, but none were good either. Meanwhile, the vacuums got smarter. They mapped your rooms, uploaded those maps to company servers, and sent them to an app in your pocket. We called that a feature. And it is one. But a map of your home living on someone else's server is also, structurally, an intelligence product. Then, in February 2026, a story that sounds like a joke. A guy wanted to steer his own robot vacuum with a PlayStation controller. He reverse-engineered how his vacuum talked to its servers and accidentally ended up with access to about 6,700 machines worldwide. Floor plans, live camera feeds, microphones, remote control. In homes across the United States, Europe, and China from one hobby project. Let that sit. He reported it. The company patched it. Nobody got hurt. But his point stuck with me. The data was just sitting there in plain text. And here is the kicker. The government's national security determination explicitly cites reporting on a robot vacuum breach. This was not a hypothetical fear. Okay, so a vacuum can leak your floor plan. Bad. But why does a humanoid robot make policy people so much more nervous? Here's how I would put it. A robot vacuum is a machine that reads a space. A humanoid is a machine that can act inside it. It opens doors, climbs stairs, carries things, walks into a server room, a warehouse aisle, a factory floor, a research lab, on its own legs. To be clear, nobody has shown humanoids sabotaging American factories. The concern is structural. The capability to move, sense, and update remotely already exists. Which brings me to the part of this story I actually wanted to tell you. Because to see what changed, you have to look backward. Summer 1942. America has just entered the war and it has almost no real intelligence service. So it builds one, called the OSS. The OSS was the ancestor of the CIA. And one branch, Special Operations, had a very specific job. Sabotage. Organizing resistance. Training and arming people. So keep this in mind. From the very beginning, intelligence work was never only listening. Sometimes it was breaking things. That distinction matters later tonight. Now let me tell you about one man, because numbers do not land the way a person does. His name was Roderick Stephen Hall. Steve. Before the war, he was a climber and a skier who knew the Italian Alps intimately, especially the Brenner Pass, a critical Axis supply route. He wrote the OSS a letter. "Drop me by parachute," he said. "Give me explosives and mountain rations. I can cut those roads myself." August 1944, they did it. He landed 85 miles from his target, blew bridges along the way, then a blizzard froze his feet. January 1945. He skis out in a snowstorm toward one more target, is betrayed, handed to the SS, tortured for 2 weeks, and killed. Look at what it took. Years of mountaineering, parachute training, demolition school, a team, a plane, 85 miles on foot. One man, one target, and that is just getting a person there. Now think about the other half of the job, the part nobody films. Turning material into meaning? In 1929, the U.S. Army decided it needed people who could break codes. The estimate from its own expert? Up to 2 years to train one. On April 1st, 1930, the Army's only cryptanalyst hired 3 junior ones. 3 people. Former math teachers. That was the start of American signals intelligence. And even after all that, you have the hardest problem left. Is this information true? Is it planted? What does it actually mean? That is why the CIA has an entire directorate just for analysis. People whose whole job is making sense of incomplete, contradictory, sometimes deliberately false information. So picture the old model as a funnel. Enormous risk and cost going in. A thin, uncertain trickle of usable knowledge coming out. Everything was scarce. Now flip it. Today, a connected robot is bought voluntarily. It is carried inside by the owner. It is plugged in and charged by the owner. No parachute, no frozen feet, no betrayal. The hardest problem of 1944, physical access to a private space, is now solved at checkout. And the second problem, analysis, got cheaper too. Machines do not get tired. Servers compare millions of homes. Patterns appear no human analyst could see. To be fair, a vacuum's map is not a state secret, but intelligence was never about single secrets. It is about volume, patterns, and time. Which floors hold heavy equipment? Which buildings run at night? Who lives alone? Where the loading doors are? None of that is secret individually. If you were on the other side of this, planning something, which would you rather have? One brilliant spy or 10,000 ordinary machines? Now, let us go back to that word from the OSS files, sabotage, because most of us picture explosions, and that is the wrong picture. The OSS wrote a manual teaching ordinary civilians to sabotage their own workplaces, not with bombs. By being slow, forgetful, and relentlessly bureaucratic, use the wrong tool. Refer every decision to a committee. Make the committee bigger. Misroute phone calls. Congratulations, you have quietly broken an organization. Yes, that is funny. It is also the point. Sabotage means friction, delay, systems that almost work. Nobody has to blow anything up at all. And the FBI's 1939 sabotage files listed targets like defense plants, communications, transportation, utilities. Now, look where humanoids get deployed. Same map. That is also why power inverters got listed the same day. The determination warned they could be switched off remotely or used to exfiltrate data. All right, now the uncomfortable part, and I want to handle it carefully because this is where a video like this usually turns into propaganda. The honest version is this. Both governments want access to data held by their companies. Neither one is uninterested. The difference is in the machinery. In China, critics point to national security laws that are widely read as obliging companies to support state intelligence work. Beijing rejects that reading. The United States has its own tools. The Cloud Act lets authorities reach data held by American providers abroad through agreements with partner countries. And Section 702 of FISA lets agencies collect foreign intelligence from domestic networks with court-approved procedures, query rules, audits, and congressional reporting. So the fair framing is not America safe, China dangerous. It is that both have capability, and they differ in oversight, transparency, and a company's ability to refuse. And even inside the American system, that oversight is argued about constantly, in Congress, in the courts, and by privacy advocates who say it is not enough. So, was this the right call? Let me lay out both sides as fairly as I can, and then you tell me what you think. The case for it. Acting before an incident is cheaper than reacting after one. Supply chain risk is real, and that robot vacuum breach was not imaginary. It also sets a precedent. Robots are treated like telecom gear as security infrastructure, not appliances. That is arguably where the technology was already heading. And yes, it buys American robotics companies room to grow against competitors who were scaling faster and pricing lower. Industrial policy, wearing a security jacket. Now the other side. Universities, warehouses, hospitals, and small manufacturers lose access to cheap, capable robots. Automation gets more expensive for everyone who is not rich. Second, nationality is a blunt proxy for safety. Where a robot is assembled tells you less than how its servers, updates, and internal access are controlled. Remember, the vacuum leak that helped justify this was not caused by a government. It was caused by ordinary bad security. Bans do not automatically fix that. Third, critics say security policy and industrial policy got blended here. And once they are blended, it is very hard to tell which one is driving. And one analyst made a blunt point. This removes a market from Chinese makers, but it will not meaningfully slow how fast they develop these machines. So let us come back to that corner of your home. The machine standing there charging, quiet, knowing the shape of every room you sleep in. For most of history, getting that close to someone's private space took a parachute, a frozen mountain, and a person willing to die for it. Now it takes a delivery box and a power outlet. So, where is the line? What counts as a convenient machine, and what counts as infrastructure? How far should a country go in deciding what you are allowed to bring home? Having heard this today, what do you think? That's a wrap for today.